So I can hear you.
Okay, we're live. Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants Hangout. We're very excited to have you all here. And today we have with us Miss Kate Harris, who is on the Canada C3 boat. So I'll tell you a little bit more about that. So this is a signature 150 initiative to celebrate Canada's 150th birthday. And Canada C3 is a ship-based expedition from Toronto to Victoria via the Northwest Passage. A diverse cross-section of Canadians will be on board for each of the 15 legs of the journey. And Canada C3 is hoping to inspire a deeper understanding of our land, our peoples, and our country. They're more than 3 months into the epic expedition now. And Miss Kate Harris, who's joining us today, is a writer and an adventurer. She has a knack for getting lost. She's one of Canada's top modern-day explorers, and her journeys edge the limits of nations, endurance, and sanity, and they've taken her to all 7 continents. So welcome, Kate.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me okay?
I think we're
good. Wow, this is so wild. I'm here up on the captain's bridge of the ship. I can do a little turnaround. Let's see. There's the ocean. We've got some pretty big waves. Yeah, so great to be here in multiple places at once.
Yes, absolutely. So we have a few minutes for you to tell us about what the expedition has been like for you and some of your crewmates and things like that, and then we'll open it up for some questions.
Sure, yeah. Well, right at the moment we're sailing off the coast of Alaska, but we can't see land in any direction. So you look out the windows and it's just ocean as far as you can see, waves and cloudy sky. And the ship is kind of like a little bit of a roller coaster at the moment. We're riding up and down. And in a way, although we can't see land, everything we're talking about on the ship concerns what's happening on the place we call home, Canada, and its neighbors. And it's actually a really incredible time to just like hang out with people on the ship and have amazing conversations and get to know what everyone is passionate about in the world. And we're all stuck together in this little ship for 3 weeks. And yeah, so there's the outer journey that's happening and then the inner journey on the ship.
That's awesome. And so how many crew members are with you right now?
So looks like there's 2 others on the bridge. There you are. And that's the captain back there. So I won't bug him because he's keeping us afloat and moving. But there's so many, it almost looks like a spaceship in here. Like there's so many instruments. There's some there. I couldn't tell you what they do, but this one's kind of exciting. I think this shows what other ships might be ahead or behind us. Yeah, this is the control center where the magic happens. I think this is the wheel, the steering wheel, I suppose. But yeah, it's a very cool. I've never been at sea before, so it's a very different experience for me, and I think most people on board as well. It's pretty new. We've got a few queasy people on board this morning. It's the first sort of big seas we've had.
Oh wow, seasickness. And so what is your role on the ship?
I came on this journey as I was invited to participate because I'm a writer, and my favorite thing to do in the world is to travel to new places and write about what I see and the people I meet, and yeah, just try and make sense of our world. Or maybe make sense of it isn't the right word, but just try to make others fall in love with the world in the ways that I have and care about it. So I think if you care about a place, you're inspired to protect it in whatever ways you can. So yeah, so I'm here. I'm not sure in what way I'll write about this trip yet, but pretty much everything I do impacts impacts writing and comes back to it in some way. So yeah, that's the plan.
Awesome. That's great. And are some of your colleagues, are they working to map things or take data for science experiments?
Yeah, so they're working quite hard on this trip. I'm more taking in the scenes and sounds, but we have a group of scientists on board, and they're sampling plankton from the ocean. They're taking water samples, I believe. One of my roommate is an atmospheric physicist. She's a very impressive gal. She studies climate change and affecting the North in particular. So we're surrounded by people that are sort of looking at this landscape, seascape, in many different ways and studying it in their own way.
That's awesome. And so you said it's 3 months at a time, and this is going on for a full year.
Yeah, it's a pretty epic journey. Now, only a few people on the ship are on the full journey from beginning to end. I'm just here for 3 weeks, and people kind of rotate on and off the ship. But it's an incredible way for a big, well, I guess 300 Canadians total will participate actually on board, and then we're trying to share the journey in as many ways as possible through conversations like this over Google and through all kinds of projects that will happen afterwards, like a book and probably photo exhibits. So yeah, we're all experiencing different parts of the Northwest Passage and the northern coast of Canada, which is a part of the country very few people ever get to see, and I highly encourage any opportunity you get to go north. It's a different world up here. I mean, I grew up wanting to travel to far-flung countries and foreign lands. I grew up in Ontario, in Canada, and you really don't have to go far in Canada to get somewhere completely strange to you, to your experience of the world. So there's a lot to be said for traveling widely at home.
There we go. My microphone was muted.
Oh, there it goes.
There we go. Yeah. So that's awesome. I'm wondering if our students have some questions already. We can pop in to see what Miss Hatties Class has to say. There are some grade 2s from Calgary, Alberta. Miss Hatties Class. Go ahead.
I was actually on leg 1. I was on leg 1 of the journey. So I thought I'd
cool.
So I'm like, oh, it's so nice to see you.
So this looks familiar to you?
Yes. Come on, Natalia, you have to come up to the screen. There you go.
Did you see any?
Oh, you gotta be loud. And
Did you see any polar bears today?
No polar bears, unfortunately. I haven't seen any, but they do live. We're a bit far out at sea, and there's no sea ice. So there's nowhere for them to be. I'd be worried if I saw one because he'd be swimming for a very long distance. So it's probably a good thing we're not seeing them. They'd be very exhausted.
Okay.
But we'll keep our eyes out for sure.
Jemima, we'll ask one more. Thank you. For Jemima. Quick. All right, and scoot down. There you go.
Have you seen any?
You gotta be loud.
Have you seen any whales on the?
We're very interested in the animals, so she's wondering if you've seen any whales.
You know what? Oh man, I sure hope we do. We haven't seen any yet, but I'm keeping a fierce lookout for them. I know people have seen them along the stretch, and in fact, the reason we're so far out at sea right now is because the community on the coast, Point Barrow in Alaska, is actually having their community whale hunt. These are people that live off the whale. That's their staple food. So we have to go way out at sea to avoid the whales, so we don't disturb their livelihoods. So not yet, but we're keeping our eyes out.
Thank you.
That's really interesting. Okay, so let's check in with Miss John's class in Philadelphia. Yeah, turn up your microphone here. If you guys have a question, go ahead.
Hi.
Who wants to ask the first question? You want to ask the question? Sit up in front so that I can see you.
I should sit down. What is it like living in a log cabin?
Oh, I love it. It's amazing. So you can almost touch any two walls at once. If you reach out, you can kind of touch two walls of the cabin. It's a very sort of simple life surrounded by nature. You see bears and caribou and moose and wolves and owls right out the front door. So it's an adventure living there every day. It's kind of like being on a long-term expedition, but it's just your daily life. So I highly recommend it. You should come visit.
That's great.
Other questions, guys?
Hi, I'm Robert. I was just wondering, where's the highest place you've been while like standing on the ground?
Oh, that's so. The highest place I've been standing on the ground has probably been. There's a mountain in the Himalaya in India, and there I was at 22,000 feet, which is sort of a low cruising altitude for airplanes, and it's really hard to breathe. It's not quite as high as Everest. Everest is actually significantly higher, but that's the highest I've been, and the view was mind blowing, and it was a combination of exciting and scary.
Oh.
It's the picture we see on the website.
Is that one of the pictures? Is there one of the pictures on your website? Is that of that mountain?
Yeah, you might have seen a photo of there's some sleeping bags out in the open on a rock ledge.
Oh yeah.
That's from there. We instead of pitching the tent, there wasn't enough room on this really narrow rock ledge. We weren't on the top of the mountain yet. We were making our way up, and so we just slept out in the open, and we kind of wrapped the edges of a tarp around us so that we wouldn't roll off this ledge because you're kind of sleeping on the top of a cliff. But it's an amazing view as you can see from the photo.
Yeah.
Are you into climbing?
One time when I was younger, I climbed a little bit. It wasn't like anything big. It was in Utah, and I also went to the Grand Canyon. Climbed there, but I like those rock faces. Those are really pretty.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of getting up high. Thanks for your question.
Yeah, that was a great question. We have some more. Okay, I see we have some more hands. If you guys want to come up.
Okay.
So, where else would you like to explore, like that you haven't already been?
Well, because I'm only on the tail end of this long sailing trip right now, I'd love to see some of the places further east. So places like Baffin Island and Greenland and Ellesmere, the sort of really dramatic northern Arctic islands with, very sparsely populated, other than wildlife. So yeah, some kind of expedition there, maybe not by sea, but by ski in the winter.
So you like the cold?
How about you? What's the top of your dream list for traveling?
I'd like to go like somewhere in Asia, because it's like.
Oh, it kind of. Can you say that again?
I'd like to go somewhere in Asia, like Vietnam or Japan or something.
Very cool.
That's awesome.
And excellent food.
Yum. Awesome. All right, let's see if Miss Hatties Class, do you guys have a few more questions?
Yep, we have a few more. Ben, hands down, please. Come up. Oh, and you can bend down so I can see you. Say hi.
Hey.
Hi. How's Frosty?
Frosty's he's a little polar bear we left on the ship. He's our class mascot.
Oh, no way. I haven't I will look for Frosty.
He's a
Do you know
little
where Frosty
tiny
is?
polar bear.
He's doing good. He's doing great, I hear. Word has it he's hanging out in the knot with the other kid.
Did he get to see any polar bears?
Did Frosty get to see any polar bears? He did. He did. Apparently he did.
Polar bears. You can ask your question that you also have. How big is the ship?
How big is the ship?
How big is the ship? That's a great question. It's 200 meters or 200 feet. So 200 feet in length, I'm told. It kind of, which is sort of the length of a football field, maybe? Yeah. Sort of feels like a soccer field length. And width, it's much more narrow than a soccer field. That's a very vague answer, but hopefully it gives you some sense.
Okay. Good. Thank you.
Thank you.
There's another one.
Thank you.
When's the last time you seen an iceberg?
Yeah, earlier in the trip, there were many iceberg spottings, from my understanding, but I don't think people have seen them on board for a while. And there aren't many glaciers until we, I guess.
Oh, might be frozen.
Just wait, Grit, his hands down.
Oh, this is what the sea looks like.
Just like,
There we go.
Just sort of
that's what it looks like.
wide
right now.
open. Can't see the land. You can't see any ice. Just seems to go on forever.
Say thank you.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's one more.
How long have you been on the ship?
I've been on the ship, I guess this is day 4 now. Yeah, day 4. So we've got a long way to go.
Hey, thank you.
Thank you.
What city did you get on at?
I got on in Tuktoyaktuk, which is a very northernmost community in the Northwest Territories.
Okay, so did you have to fly into that community?
Yeah. So we took a flight. We all met in Edmonton, in Canada, and then flew to Yellowknife, and then got on a separate plane to come to Tuktoyaktuk. And Tuktoyaktuk's an interesting place. It's a very isolated community, and they.
Oh, we froze again.
Animals, but now a road is being connected to this community. Before, you could only get there by snowmobile in the winter, or driving on the ice road in the winter, or flying in. So they're about to be very suddenly connected to the rest of Canada. You can do a road trip there.
Nice.
So put that on your road trip hit list. Sure.
And so have you met a lot of, I guess you've only been on for a few days. Will you get to meet a lot of people from different communities on your trip?
I hope so. This lake is kind of unique in that we don't have a whole lot of stops for the number of days we have total. So I think we've got maybe 5 stops to come, but the stops will be quite unique, like really remote communities that are very hard to get to unless you travel there by sea. So they should be exciting ones.
That's really cool. All right, Miss John's class, do you guys have some more questions?
Yes.
Go ahead.
I have to.
Hey.
Hi.
On your website, it said that at MIT you studied geobiology. What is geobiology?
That's a great question. So geobiology, we often separate like the living world from the non-living world. So biology, it's about studying life. And geology, everyone knows that means rocks. So geobiology is looking at where rocks and life interact. A lot of microbes, for example, can eat rock. They live off the minerals and chemicals that you can find in certain rocks. So that's one aspect of that field. The other is geobiologists will look at the history of life on Earth as told through the rock record. So you all know about like dinosaur fossils and fossils in general. You can also look at fossils that are so small, they're basically fossil fats. Like we all have cholesterol in our bodies, and most forms of life have some form of fat like that, different lipids. And you can find these in the rock record dating back billions of years. So that's another sort of foray for geobiologists to look into. It's the history of life on Earth, and then how life interfaces with the Earth. Yeah. Are you interested in being a scientist?
Yeah.
Nice. Well, I highly recommend it. It's a great way to. You'll have many opportunities to explore the world.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
He is a Canadian student.
Oh, a Canadian student.
Ah, very cool. I'm Americans.
Do we have the time to ask another question, or you wanted to go back to the other?
Of course, you can go right ahead. We'll jump back eventually, but go ahead.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Hello.
Hi.
Hey.
What are your books about, and which one that you wrote is your favorite?
Well, confession, I've only written one book, and it's not published yet. It's coming out in a couple months, but so I guess by default it's my favorite, but I am quite proud of it. And it's about a bike trip I took along the Silk Road, which is a historic trading route stretching from Europe to Asia. You might have heard of Marco Polo. Marco Polo is the most famous explorer of the Silk Road, but he traveled it, more than 1,000 years ago. And so I wanted to travel it now and kind of see what's changed in the centuries since our different journeys. So yeah, that book it's a travel book, adventure book. It's also looking at questions of borders. I mean, a lot of the countries along the Silk Road today did not exist when Marco Polo traveled it. Some of them didn't exist as recently as 50 years ago. They're sort of new creations. And we tend to look at a world map and you think that it's permanent. Like that's what you learn in school. Like this is where, Kazakhstan is, and this is where Turkey is. But one of the fun things about studying history is that you see how mutable the world is, how it's always changing, and borders especially are always changing. Only fixed, and they're only facts as long as we kind of let them be that way. So that's what the book explores, and hopefully there's enough adventure to keep you gripped through the more meditative border sections.
Cool.
I want to read it.
That's awesome. All right, so keep thinking of some questions. Miss Hatties Class, we'll go back to you.
Okay, wait,
Hi.
I'll unmute. Hi.
Why did you become a scientist and a writer?
I became a scientist and a writer because I've always been so curious about the world and our place in it. You look up at the sky at night and all you see are countless stars, and we don't know the first thing about where we are in the universe or what we're doing. History that's sort of fundamental to who we are. Me so much, and I never get tired of wondering. If you want to spend your life sort of asking questions and far-flung places in search of maybe not answers, but more questions or better questions, is an amazing way to do that. And science certainly opens many doors in that respect. So yeah, basically, we're all explorers. We all that's what we do on a daily basis. We're making sense of our world, and whether you're exploring the neighborhood or exploring the universe through a telescope, that's what it means to be human, I think.
So thank you.
But yeah.
Gabby?
Great question.
Hi. What does it feel like on the sea?
What does it feel like?
It's kind of being on a rough road in a car, but smoother than that. Maybe it feels like rocking. It's kind of like being in a moving cradle. It's actually quite, when you're sleeping at night, it's quite comforting. Like you just sort of rock to sleep. It's more when you're up during the day and you're trying to get a drink from the galley and you try and walk around with it and it's spilling everywhere, that it gets a little more complicated. But it's quite a cool feeling. Like your world, we're so used to our world being stable. You can count on the ground being where you see it beneath your feet. And here you take a step and you don't know where the ground's going to be. It might be rising up to meet your foot or it might be falling away. So it makes walking around a bit of an adventure.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Great question.
Make sure you're looking.
Hi. Is it fun being a scientist, and what do you study about?
Oh, she's already talked about that.
That's all right. Yeah, I studied biology and geology, and I don't actually do science on a daily basis now, but I write about science.
Do you have any magazines or stuff with National Geographic that we can read?
Oh, on my website, I have a bunch of links to different articles that I've written. And yeah, I haven't written for National Geographic. That would be a dream. But someday I've written for Canadian Geographic, which is...
We like them too.
Yeah, they're great.
They are. You say thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome. Should we see if Miss John's class, do you guys have some new questions? Yeah? All right, we'll jump over there really quick.
Hi.
Hey.
Do you write novels or just books about science?
Sorry? I didn't hear the first.
Do you write novels?
I don't write novels. I have so much admiration for people who write fiction because in a way it feels like I'm cheating. Like I just have to write about what has happened or, you know, the fact. I'm limited to the facts. Whereas with fiction, you know, any sentence, the next sentence could go in any direction. It could take you to a new plot twist or it could introduce a new character. To me, it seems like the hardest kind of writing you could do, but it would be the most rewarding probably because you're inventing a whole world from your imagination. I'd love to do it someday. I do not write fiction at the moment. Do you write fiction?
That's a good question. So it seems like you're interested in writing, maybe becoming an author yourself.
Hello.
She disappeared.
On your website, we see you on a bike. Where are you going?
I'm pretty sure that was me biking into Tibet. If it's like a very flat landscape, and yeah, I've spent a lot of time traveling my bicycle. It's my favorite way to move through the world because you're completely self-powered. You can carry everything you need on the bike, and you can go anywhere. I mean, people bike around the world. They bike to the craziest places in all kinds of weather. And it's, you know, the simple tool that really, you know, it gets expensive to buy plane tickets. It gets expensive to take trains. You know, other forms of transportation, they just cost more. Whereas you can hop on a bike from your home and go just about anywhere if you can navigate the oceans in between continents. So yeah, I love traveling by bike. And the people you meet, I mean, one thing when you travel around in a car, say, but when you're traveling by bicycle, people are curious about doing and have better conversations with people. They open themselves up to you. It's a great way to get around. It's a great way to meet people through the places, in the places you're traveling through.
Thank you.
And yeah, I highly recommend Tibet. It's a crazy place to bike. Like that flat ground you see is taller than the tallest mountain in the continental U.S. So other than Denali, like I think that photo that you're talking about is at 15,000 feet, more than any mountain in the Rockies, and it looks completely flat. Kind of place where it's a breathtaking experience in many ways.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. So maybe we'll do one more question from each class. Miss John's class, since we're already with you guys, would you like to do your last question?
Hi. So when you were a kid, did you want to be an author and adventurer, or was it something you were planning
Very
for?
much. Yeah, it's in a way when I was a kid. So I didn't travel at all. My family, if we took holidays, we didn't go abroad. We went to like the nearest provincial park, and I traveled through books. I was an avid reader, and I was always reading tales of adventure and exploration from sort of past, like Marco Polo, to more recent, like the Antarctic. And I was just hungry to do the same thing myself, but I had no idea how to do it. How do you begin? Where do you sort of set off on that path if you don't? I'd never even seen a mountain in my early 20s, I guess, and never mind a desert or the world other than through books. So when I did finally get the chance to start traveling during university, it's the natural thing to do seemed to write about it. Like I wanted to share the incredible experience I was having with family and friends just to start. And then gradually that built into writing articles for magazines and sharing it with even more people. And then, you write a book and you share it with even more people. I think part of the great joy of traveling is coming home to tell the tale. And so writing has always felt very complimentary, both like inspired me out the door and it's the reason I come home.
That's awesome. So what were some of the opportunities that you got to take after high school that allowed you to travel?
Yeah, so I grew up in small town Ontario and, really hungered to get out in the world, but didn't know how and didn't have the money to do it. And I studied really hard because I knew that would be my ticket to the broader world. Like just did my absolute best at school and took it really seriously and knew it would be able to launch me somewhere. And I ended up winning a scholarship to university. It's called the Moorhead Kane Scholarship, and it is all expenses paid at the University of North Carolina in Chapel Hill, so you might know the Tar Heels. And the best part about the scholarship is not only are you basically paid to go explore whatever you want in a classroom, but every summer they give you money to travel the world.
Wow.
From ticket where you want to go. And so my first summer as a university student, I basically looked at a globe and, the world I'd known in Canada, way up here. So I looked at the place diametrically opposite to small town Ontario on a globe. It was Borneo. And so that's how I decided that's where I was going, to Borneo. And what that scholarship really taught me, we still had to apply to the scholarship program to get these grants in order to travel. And so I had to write and I had to make a case for myself, like why I wanted to go to Borneo and what I would learn there. And that you don't need the scholarship to do the same thing. Like you can pitch people your ideas. If you can describe in language that's, why you want to go somewhere and what you want to do there, you can convince people to take you. You can open those doors for yourselves. So there are grants out there, which that's an option. And you can write to companies and ask for sponsorship. It opened the world for me, but it really taught me, and this is what I've done ever since, that you can write your own ticket if you're determined and you at the right time. And so that's kind of how writers, you pitch ideas that you want to explore, and a magazine will send me to a place to do that. So that was the big lesson I learned. So I would encourage all of you, whatever you want to do, writing is a very good skill to learn, because it always helps to be able to explain clearly to people what it is you do and what it is you want to do. And that can really open a lot of doors, even if you're a scientist, if you're an engineer, if you're a teacher. Like, it always helps to be able to write.
That's awesome. Well, thank you. And so we have one more question from Miss Hatties Class too. Yeah, those are some great advice for students.
Look in the camera. Yes, ask.
What's the captain doing?
What is the captain doing? Do you want to meet him?
Yeah.
Go down here. He's sitting, first of all, I'll show you. He's sitting in his captain's chair, right there. I'll just hand him over.
Oh, guys.
Time to say hi.
Hello,
Captain
kids.
Stefan.
How are you?
Good. Hi, Captain
I'm
Stefan.
so happy. I'm so happy to talk to all of you. You're following our journey? You're impressed, are you?
Yeah.
Oh, there's a lot of enthusiasm. Maybe you have a couple questions for me? Maybe yes, maybe no?
Do you have a question?
Yes. Oh, we have our French school in Philadelphia might be able to ask you a question in French.
Of course, I'll be happy to answer in French.
Okay, let's do Miss Hatties' class. Do you have a question really quick?
Yeah, she does.
Okay.
Hi, Captain.
Bonjour.
What was I going to say?
You said, what is it like to drive a ship?
What does it feel like to drive a ship?
Oh, driving the ship for a captain? You know this is my job, but it is not easy every day. We had a couple weeks ago, a couple very hard days in ice, because you know all that we're doing a voyage that is not easy. We're going across Canadian Arctic, all the way from Toronto to Victoria. And to complete our voyage, we need to face and challenge all the ice in the Arctic. So we had a couple days, I was working very hard, but now this is behind us and we're sailing towards Alaska, and voyage is going very well.
Say thank you.
Thank you.
Bienvenue.
Do you have a question for the captain?
Yes. How do you say mountain in French?
Oh.
How do I say? Do we say mountain in French?
Does that have to do with doing the ship? No.
But that's okay. I can answer that. That's easy for me. Montagne.
Thank you.
That's okay.
Great question.
I just wanted to say hi.
Okay, so we're gonna.
I like that. Hi.
How are you?
I like to say hi to new people.
Miss Hattie was on the ship in the first leg of the trip.
Oh yeah, okay, that's good. I didn't recognize the face. I have to apologize. I see lots of new people. Hello, ça va bien?
Okay, let's go to our French school in Philadelphia and see what questions they have.
Bonjour.
Bonjour. Une école française à Philadelphie, je suis impressionné.
Quel était votre meilleur voyage à conduire, sur un bateau?
Mon meilleur voyage, c'est une question très intéressante. Je vais vous avouer que le voyage actuel, c'est probablement le voyage le plus spectaculaire que moi j'ai fait.
Oh, merci. Okay, guys, so we are closing in on our time for this hangout. So thank you very much, Captain.
Bye bye, everybody. C'était un plaisir de vous parler. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Kate.
Pleasure.
Awesome. Well, I think that's it. We'll say goodbye to our classrooms.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye. Thanks
Thank
for
you so much for
joining.
your awesome questions. Over and out.